This has been a long time coming, and the Birmingham Small Arms, better known as BSA, have finally made their Indian debut with classic legends with their crowning jewel, the Gold Star 650. And man, have they hit the nail bang on its head in preserving its classic retro heritage since the Gold Star rode to life back in 1938. I mean, if you look at the engine, the shape of the engine, the fuel tank, the touches of chrome, all pay homage to the OG Gold Star. And true to its British heritage, this one too has been designed and developed in the UK. But the engine, this brand new 652cc liquid-cooled engine, which is the biggest single to be ever produced in India, has actually been developed and designed in Austria with the promise of delivering a riding experience that rolls back the years. So this engine makes 45 horsepower and 55 Newton meters of torque, which are delivered through its 5-speed transmission, which is a telltale sign that the Gold Star wasn't designed for outright performance, but for cruising in style. If you poke it, it will oblige. But more than all the shenanigans that it's capable of, what I'm tripping on the most is the refinement. I did not expect this to be as smooth as it is. This is easily one of the smoothest big capacity single cylinders that I have ever experienced. Now don't get me wrong, you can feel a tinge of buzz creep in around 4500 RPM and steadily increase as the revs climb and as you get closer to its 7000 rev limit. But considering all the torque that this one has, you will find yourself invariably riding in a gear or two higher, still making short work of those quick overtakes. And the low end torque also makes it really tractable. You can easily dispatch all of your city commutes in the third gear with the engine pulling cleanly from as low as 2000 RPM. And thank God for that, because the slip and assist clutch is surprisingly heavy, and also it will take you some time to get used to the throttle, especially when you're turning it on and off because it's slightly snatchy. And I also cannot comment on the heat because we have been riding in the rain in cold conditions, so for that we'll have to wait. On the highway, the nice cruising speed on the Gold Star is about 120-125 with the engine in the 5th gear, just slowly and smoothly chugging along. If you open the throttle, it will respond, the engine will respond, but along with that you'll also get a whole lot of buzz. And more than anything, I would not recommend riding the Gold Star really fast, mainly because of the rear shocks and how underdamped they are. Throws you off on the really sharp bumps. They are not really designed for high speed or riding in a spirited manner. And I know why BSA have done it, so that you get this nice plush ride quality at these kind of touring speeds. But I think it's a missed opportunity looking at how well the 41mm conventional forks have been set up. They are really well damped, provide you really good support, and offer a really good balance between sporty and comfort. It's also why you can drop the juggernaut on this 213 kg vehicle so easily, making the most of the 320mm disc, the steel braided lines, and the well calibrated ABS. But then this also fools you into thinking that this will be a hoot in corners, and that's when you realize that the rear shock is pogoing like crazy and running you wide. And because the front and the rear are so out of sync, the BSA Gold Star also feels a lot heavier to steer than it ought to. But stick to what the Gold Star was designed for, and you'll love it with every single kilometer that you clock. The rider's triangle, it's like pretty much perfect. Even for a guy like me who's 5'11", there's plenty of room for me to move around despite the low 780mm seat, which makes the Gold Star really accessible for people and riders of all shapes and sizes. Then you have the seat itself, which is perfectly cushioned, has the right amount of padding whether you're out for a short ride or a long one. Then you have the tank, which is only 12 liters, but given the configuration of the engine and the kind of torque that you have and the fact that you can always ride in a gear or two higher, I think you can easily extract a range of at least 260 to 270 kilometers. A journey made pleasurable with this thumpy exhaust note, which is really, really nice and adds to the overall experience. But then, of course, you do have to utter a small prayer and hope that you don't encounter a puncture, because you are running spoke wheels and tube type tires. If you do encounter puncture, that's not going to be fun. But hey, that's a small price that we pay for some old school charm, yeah? Which brings us to the million-dollar question: if the Gold Star is a legitimate alternative to the hyper-successful Royal Enfield Interceptor 650. Because both the base models cost pretty much the same at 3 lakhs. Now, as much as I love this engine, I definitely prefer the twin on the Royal Enfield, because not only is it smoother, packs a whole lot of character, got the 270-degree crank, and it sounds absolutely wicked. But having said that, on all other counts, I think the Gold Star has its nose up front, because it looks absolutely gorgeous and much better put together. Has really high fit and finish. I love the detailing. It definitely has much better brakes than the Interceptor, and even the suspension, though not perfect, is definitely better than the suspension setup on the Interceptor. And when you combine that with the sorted ergonomics and the comfy seat on the Gold Star, the seat in fact has always been the Achilles heel on the Interceptor. And in the Gold Star, you'll also find a much better worthy companion for the long rides. So ultimately, it comes down to a choice that you have to make on how you want to spend your hard-earned money on the smashing parallel twin engine that we have come to love on the Royal Enfield, or on a relatively simpler engine, but a much better overall product, which is the Gold Star, especially in this retro roadster space.